Remember Tool Time, Tim Allen? Well, 106.3 KRZK has Cool Time with Tony from Allied Air in Branson. Every Saturday morning from 9 to 10 on News Talk 106.3 KRZK. Listen in for the latest consumer information about heating, cooling, saving money for your HVAC system, and more. Your cool specialist, Cool Time with Tony from Allied Air. Join him every Saturday morning from 9 to 10.
That's darn right. You're in the comfort zone. KRZK News Time. Coming up to 9:04. It is Saturday, 60 at the Office Concept Studios. A beautiful start to your weekend in Ozark Mountain Country. Josh Grisham with you. And I got to say good morning to our host for Cool Time. Good morning, Tony Martin.
Good morning. I'd like to start by thanking our sponsors, Westinghouse Heating and Cooling Products. The world is what we make of it. Paul Kruger Construction, a design build company. Cantina Laredo and Black Oak Grill down at the Branson Landing. And Josh, we've been talking about our customers, what we can do for our customers. I want to take just a second, though, and talk about my partner, Dave Birch.
Dave Birch. He
He is well qualified in the HVAC industry, but more than that, he is just the best person I guess I've ever met in my life. He's the only one that I would consider being a business partner with, and he kind of gets left out of the loop a lot. Publicly, because he doesn't want to be on the radio, and that's fine. That's fine.
We talked about that on more than one occasion. Is try to get Dave in here.
Sure,
and he may surprise us both.
He may someday come in here and do the whole show.
Yep.
But I do want to let everybody know that Allied Air would not be where we are, what we are, without Dave Birch.
Well, and really, and that's a good point that you make, because really partnerships are very important, because that lays the groundwork for business success or business failure.
It does, and so many companies fail because of partnerships, because they don't have a mutual goal in mind. Mm-hmm. And when we first started, we sat down and realized that partnerships generally do not work. Mm-hmm. We sat down and we talked about it, and we are 50-50 partnership. Mm-hmm. And it takes both of us to operate the company.
And when you two sat down to decide to go on this venture, Tony, how many years of expertise did Dave bring into your partnership?
When we first started, pretty close to 10 years.
Remarkable. And see, he really established himself on his own before you guys got together and said, "Hey, let's put this thing together. Let's serve the community right."
Definitely, and he was able to work for some other companies that I wasn't able to work for, mm-hmm. and then we met at a mutual company that we worked for before we opened Allied Air.
Well, and obviously, I mean, all roads lead somewhere, and this partnership has led to a great response in the community. You now have Cool Time with Tony at Allied Air. The show is taken off by leaps and bounds. You've got a lot of people, friends, people that you don't even know coming up to you and say, "Hey, I caught the show. I'm absolutely loving the feedback." And there's a lot more implications of how this has grown for you. Besides just the talk on the street, it's gone a lot further beyond that.
It's got a lot further than anybody ever imagined. And we really appreciate that. And we appreciate the support of our customers and potential customers.
Fantastic. Now, so one of the things I got to ask you along with this, I mean, obviously you've got the radio show now. You're getting active now more and more every day with your social media presence. So what has that meant to you, and where is that going?
Yeah, we just launched our social media outreach program in March of this year, and we decided a long time ago that if we were going to do something as a company, it would have to be done right, and it would have to benefit the customer. So when it came to social media, we didn't want something just set out there on the web and be stagnant. We wanted something that people can use. So we did our research, we did our homework, and with a lot of planning and hard work, we've developed a social media outreach program that utilizes mm-hmm. our website at bransonalliedhvac.com, our Facebook page, Allied Air Heating and Cooling, and our review process that's handled through reviewbuzz.com. We tie all those together, and it's a presence on the web that is useful for our customers and potential customers.
Well, and I tell you, we talk a lot off air after the show concludes each week, and last week you said something that I think was just absolutely mind blowing and very inspiring too, because this show is starting to kind of tie into a lot of educational purposes with other contractors vendors out there that are now taking note of what you're doing here, and they're reaching out to you, and that's huge.
That is huge, and even though Dave and I started Allied Air, we have a lot of other partners, such as our vendors, and there's just a lot of needlework involved in producing a company like we have.
Well, and anybody that has been following the show since it started here at News Talk 106.3 KRZK, I mean, the topics have been varied. They've been vast. Each week, as far as I'm concerned, my friend, you outdo yourself. And last week, we kind of introduced something. We were sharing some real stories. Mm-hmm. They weren't sugar-coated. They weren't watered down. And it's an experience that people out there have shared at one point or another. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you don't want to talk about it because it's not exactly the most flattering thing.
Right.
But I think, Tony, we opened up people's eyes last week. And I think, I mean, if we didn't wake some people up to paying closer attention to the units that they have at their house, your maintenance and how you're handling that, I don't know what else we could do, because those stories were great.
They are. And we're going to be talking to two of those customers today. Mm-hmm. But we have several other stories that we can share. Mm-hmm. And just real quick, I don't know how much time we have before the break.
Got about 30 seconds.
Okay, well, we'll get back to that after the break then. But I do want to share the story that I started to share last week, and we didn't have enough time. And then we'll go ahead and get Ed on the phone.
Fantastic. That's coming up. This is Cool Time with Tony at Allied Air, the station for straight talk and the comfort zone. 106.3 KRZK. KRZK News Time is 9:13. You're in the comfort zone. It's Cool Time with Tony at Allied Air, 60 at the Office Concept Studios. Continuing our discussion, and Tony, last week we shared 4 incredible stories out there that really spoke to any homeowner in Ozark Mountain Country. And you kind of touched on a big one last week, but didn't get an opportunity to finish it. Tell us about that.
Sure. This was a customer that called us, heard us on the show, give us a call. We went over to help him out. When we got there, we discovered that his air conditioning system hasn't been working for some time. Mm-hmm. They had a condo here, so they're not from here. And they were here doing some work in the winter and asked me to come over and take a look at it. And I asked what the problem was, and they told me the fan on the air conditioning would never stop running. And so we had someone out last year while we were here, and they replaced something and left. And we thought it was fixed, and later that night, we understood that it wasn't, and we called them back. They said, well, it wasn't that, so they took their part back, and the fellow said, I thought he was going out to his truck to get another part and come back in. Well, we never saw him again, and so that's the reason we're calling you. We need to get this fixed before summer, and the fan worked great during heating, and so I opened up the cabinet, and I found the problem really quickly. There was a fan relay that was missing from the unit. We had open wires, bare wires hanging there, live wires, and it was a danger to anybody that would touch that unit. If one of them happened to touch the chassis, it would have lit them up like a Christmas tree. So I asked him, I said, why in the world is this like this? He said, well, the guy took the part back, and we didn't realize that he left it in that shape. So it was just a matter of putting the right relay in, got him up and running in minutes. But this is the kind of story that really scares us as service technicians, because there can be a lot of danger involved with someone that really doesn't know what they're doing.
That could be oversight, and I could see kind of, again, and it was kind of a common recurring theme, or at least how I took it last week when we were sharing these stories of how easily sometimes a person can kind of get led down the primrose path.
Oh, yeah.
You're wearing rose-colored sunglasses, somebody tells you something good, it's easy to buy into it, right?
Sure. And, that's where our social media really comes in, because we give our customers a voice, and we encourage them to use that voice.
Fantastic.
And not only that, we have the show as a voice, and we'd like to have customers call in and share their experiences. And that's why we have Ed Griffin on the phone right now. Or
Ed,
Gifford. I'm sorry, Ed Gifford on the phone. He's going to kill me.
Ed, good morning to you. Thanks for joining us here on Cool Time with Tony.
Good morning.
Good morning, Ed. How are you this morning?
I'm doing fantastic, thanks.
Great. Hey, listen, I told your story, our side of your story last week. I don't know if you caught it or not, but I would like for you, if you would, sir, to share your experience with Allied Air and how we were able to help you out, what your problem was, and what we did to correct it.
Well, unfortunately, I didn't catch the last week's show because I live in Iowa, and I have a house down here that we're redoing to retire in, and we've been just getting it all replaced and fixed up for when we retire, we can have it done the right way. And I found a company to replace all my mechanicals, my air conditioner and furnace, and we'd contacted them, and last March they came out and basically to do the install, and they said they'd be here at 9 o'clock, and they showed up about 11:30, and a little worried at that point, and they said they'd be in and out here in about 6-7 hours and done. Well, at 9 o'clock that night, they still weren't done and left. And it was a little cool, so we had to run the heat pump and everything on the emergency heat because that's all we had. So we called them back up, and they came back on Monday and looked at this and said, we got a couple things wired wrong, and fixed it and left, and it just wouldn't work. So we constantly kept calling them, and finally they said, listen, there's nothing wrong with this thing. And I said, well, it's got to be. It's not working. It's running all the time, and this is a brand-new unit that I put in. So after dealing with them for about 2 weeks, phone calls, because I'm in Iowa and everything, I finally decided to go online and look for a Rude dealer and found Tony and Allied Air and give him a call and said, hey, I'm going to be in town. Can you come out and look at my unit? And they said, sure. So they came out and looked at the unit and said, I don't know who installed this, but it's just all wrong. And I said, well, I kind of figured that. I said, what all do you think's wrong with it? And they went down and looked at it all and come up and give me a list of everything that was wrong. And I can't remember if it was 1 or 2 pages of paper. So, meantime, I said, hey, what are you going to charge me to fix this? Now I'm thinking, I'm going to pay another $1,000 to get this fixed. And he says, well, I think we can get it fixed for about $300. And I says, are you kidding me? He says, no. He says, that should redo everything. And I said, well, what about the base they put this on? Because they built a wood box and put this on a base. He goes, no, that's putting in the right base and everything. And I said, man, if you can do it, let's do it. When can you do it? He said, we'll be back in a couple days. We'll get the parts. Come back a couple days. Haven't had a bit of problem since then with it. Runs fantastic, energy efficient, everything we asked from the other company that they couldn't give us.
Now, Ed, after we come in and did the work, we talked to you further about taking care of your system, didn't we?
Yes, and you guys come out in spring and fall, and check it. What was even kind of nice last fall when you come out, I was here, and you guys have really always worked around my schedule, which is very good because I'm not here all the time, and so it really works out for me to call and say, hey, I'm going to be in next week, for a couple of days. Can you take care of me? And they're like, yeah. It was nice. They came out. They basically did a test on it, and he comes up, and he told me how efficient it was running, how much I was costing me an hour to run it and stuff, which I felt was beyond, what I'd asked for. Changed the filters, made sure everything was good. Again, somebody I'll definitely have a relationship when I'm down here full time.
Well, we really appreciate you as a customer, Ed, and I appreciate you as a friend. We talk about other things besides HVAC when we come over, and I just really appreciate you coming on the show and sharing your experience with us.
Yeah, and one other thing I want to touch on is with me not being here full time, it's kind of hard. I mean,